Hey, gun people. Did a video on impact weapons, chucks, baton, etc. So figured I'd do a crazy cop story here. If I can get the sun here. Oh man, this thing's pissing me off. Here we go. Alright, bus station. So I'm working in downtown Sacramento. Can't remember what task force I was on, either gangs or auto theft. But I'm driving by downtown Sac. If you've ever been to Sacramento, there's a bus station downtown. If you've ever been to any area, most bus stations tend to be, how do I say, shitholes. You got a lot of drugs, you got a lot of people hanging out, you got a lot of bums, you got a lot of people, not a lot of money trying to get away from somewhere or to somewhere for whatever reason. But bus stations are normally not a great place to be around. If you see a bus station, you're probably not in a good area of town, because they're never in a good area of town. They want to make it accessible to the people that need it. So, I'm sure somebody's going to say, "You're just picking on the poor," whatever. So, I'm driving by there, and one of the guys is either selling dope or selling something, because he got some money and handed the guy something. So I go, shit. So I whip, and again, I'm working undercover. I got my police vest on and my gear, but I'm in blue jeans. I'm in an undercover car. And I've talked about this in other videos on how in certain areas we're on different radios. So when I drove around my car, I had my base radio, which was for the state in my county, and the cities in my county. Some of the cities in my county were on that radio. And then if a city didn't have their radio, I had one of their portables in the car, so trying to keep all these batteries. And all the radios are different, they're none the same. So there's all different kind of batteries. So I used to have chargers and batteries and all these different radios for all the jurisdictions. It's a pain in the butt. So Sac PD and Sac Sheriff are on different radios. And CHP, I must have been with the task force because I had their portable, because that's who I'd end up calling us out on. So CHP is on a different radio, and none of them have their radios, so they can't monitor each other's radio. If I call Sac Sheriff and I need Sac PD, Sac Sheriff dispatcher has to call over to Sac PD and say, hey, we got a guy that needs help over here. So it really delays things. Well, in this case, it delayed it forever. So I see this guy make a transaction. I go, oh, screw that. So I whip around, and I'm thinking, hey, he's committing a felony. I'll get a felony stat. Maybe he's got a warrant. Maybe a lot of my contacts and arrests for things like that, could I get something bigger? If I had stopped this dude, he cooperated, he had some dope, and I'd have said, dude, I'm into guns or cars right now, and I'm not really worried about this freaking little crank that you got in your pocket. Can you give me somebody who's selling guns, have some heavy-duty armory, somebody that's on the run, a good murderer or something that's on the run, or, you know, somebody's got a chop shop or a bunch of stolen cars. Can you give me some of that? I'll let you go. So that's what I would have done, and that's why a lot of my stops, I'm just looking for criminal activity, and then when I get them, I try to roll them or turn them into something bigger. Because I don't really care about a lot of the stuff that some agencies may care a lot about. Because I just, you know, it's what I was working, and that's what I was going, that was my target area. So some dudes use some crank. I mean, shit, probably, you know, 50% of the people in California are using crank drugs, some sort of illegal drugs. So anyway, I pull out, I turn around, I cup this gun, I put it out on the chipper and say, hey, send me a cover. I'm at the bus station, got a white male, possible drug, just saw a hand-to-hand buy go down. So, CHP has to call the unit. Well, because, why do they call the sheriff? I think I wanted the sheriff because the sheriff is a much better agency. They're much better at responding, they're much better at doing paper, and they kind of care. Sac PD is just a shit PD. They just don't give a shit. They hire, you know, they got to hire the minority for the chief who doesn't give a shit about the chief, or the gay person for the chief, because they're all in a progressive agenda. So they never do good police work. They're always turnover chiefs. They're hiring anybody to get quotas. They got to hire the gay person. They got to hire the female. They got to hire the Asian female. They got to hire this quota, that quota. Cops are demotivated. They don't do shit. Horrible service. They don't take reports. They come slow. I can't say enough bad about Sac PD. I can't remember having any good experiences with them. And remember, Sac PD is in Sac County, so Sac Sheriff and Sac PD, they both have about the same amount of officers. I want to say somewhere in the 900 area, but whatever. A lot of officers. but just the difference between the agencies is far between. One, you've got an appointed chief by a liberal, state-controlled government, PC, and the other one, you have an elective sheriff that's usually elected by people in the county who want somebody who's going to be a nice law and order guy who's not going to play that PC shit. So the sheriff is always less PC than the police departments. Always. Because they're elected. Police chiefs are appointed by PC idiots above them. And that's what SAC-PD is. So back to the story. I got to give you some background on this so you can kind of figure out why the things happened the way it did. So I call this guy in. Of course, as soon as I walk out of the car, he sees me. And what we call furtive movement, he tries to hide, he sticks his hand in there, and he turns around, and he starts walking away. And I go, that ain't going to happen. So I grab him, he spins around, knocks my hand off. His girlfriend immediately comes over, tries to get in between us, says, hey, that's my boyfriend. Anytime you have people doing that, especially women, they know they're distracting you. She's trying to buy him time so he can run, so he can get rid of the dope, so he can pull out the gun or the knife. She's trying to buy him because cops are normally not going to just go off and punch or take out a woman as quick as they will a man. It's just human nature. And especially you got all this PC crap about women are equal and you can't hit a woman. Yeah, I'm equal, but you can't hit me because I'm a woman. You know, whatever. So people know that, and as you get older and cops and you do cop more, you learn to ignore that. You have to wash out of your mind or you're going to get killed. Like I said, I always found more guns hidden on the females in a car of gangbangers than I did on the males because they would always give the gun to the female because she could hide it. So this girl immediately gets in between us. Well, that tells me a few things. One, she's not scared of the cops. Two, she's done this before. Three, they're working together. So I immediately just jammed them both up against the wall and said, you better get out of my way. Grabbed him, and me and him were immediately on a fight on the ground. So we're rolling. And because it's a bus station, and again, my gun's in there, I'm worried about losing my gun. There's not a lot of good, what I call righteous citizens who really care about cops or the right thing. They're all about, hey, maybe this guy will drop dope, maybe he'll drop gun, maybe the cop will drop his gun, maybe if something's dropped while they're fighting, I can pick it up from my pocket. If somebody loses a wallet, money, because that's what happens when crowds gather. In survival of the jungle, when you're out there, you learn that when there's chaos, that's an opportunity for you to gain something, because people aren't paying attention. It's much easier to rob a place when a big fight's going on than if nothing's going on, because now you're the center of attention. But if there's a big fight, destruction, a fire, things go, I can rob a place a lot easier. Well, in survival out there, people learn this. Crooks learn this. So I immediately start getting this crowd around me. Yo, man, let him go. Why are you harassing him? Quit. That's police brutality. Rodney King. They're yelling all this shit. So in the middle of my fight, I'm on my radio saying, I'm in a fight. I need to come through and cover. Because I need to cover them now. I need them to know that, hey, this isn't just a contact anymore. I need to upgrade my cover. So, of course, there's a delay. They got to call SAC. SAC still hasn't showed up. You would expect, in most cities, you would hear lights and sirens and cops coming. So I'm fighting this guy for a good minute or two. I get him in a rear arm lock. Some dude comes up behind me, kind of pushes me off him. I kind of get distracted for him for a minute. I get him off me, tell him I'm going to shoot him, go for my gun. He kind of backs off. I go back to this guy. He's trying to get up. I got to tackle him. We go back on the ground. I'm on the radio saying, I need some cover now. I got a crowd. I'm outnumbered. Get me some freaking cover. So they're like, we're trying. SAC-PD said they're en route. Blah. Well, I'm fighting this guy. I finally get him against the wall with his arm against the back, and I've got him pinned. The crowd's still around yelling. Here comes SAC-PD. No lights and siren. Driving like a typical liberal city. I don't want to get involved. I don't want to get any complaints. This isn't my call. If I get involved, I'm going to have to take paper. So I'll just cover my ass so my GPS in my car shows that I went in the area and that I can just keep on driving. So here comes the SAC-PD. Drives right by. Drives by. And I know I didn't get the dispatch, but I guarantee he went, I just did a check of the area of the bus station. I didn't see anything. He drove off. So I get back on the radio now. I'm fucking pissed. I'm like, damn it, SAC-PD just drove by. They didn't even stop. Give me a unit to the bus. Give me the sheriff, CHP, somebody. Give me some freaking help. So then they dispatch the SO. And they dispatch the chippies. Because the chippies normally don't come for this. Even though they have a task force, they usually use the locals for their... The chippies are more worried about getting tickets or something. So they're usually off on the highways. They're not downtown. But if they're in court or traffic court, they may turn on their radio and hear officer needs help and will come. So now they've got it out on all three units. SAC sheriffs, still no help. I'm fighting this guy. Girlfriend's coming up behind me, hitting me. I'm keeping her off. I got this guy, I still haven't got the dope. I haven't searched him for weapons. I still got a crowd that I don't know has weapons. I mean, I could have been killed so freaking easy. But sometimes I look back and I'm like, dude, I could have been killed so many times, so easy. So anyway, I got focused on this guy. No, hell no, you're not going to get away. Screw you. You ain't fighting. You know, you want to try and get away. You ain't getting away. So you're going to jail now. I've already used force on you. I've used force on your girlfriend. She's going to complain. I've used force on some stranger. He's probably going to complain. I still ain't got covered. This situation is still an insecure crime scene, and it's still out of control. So finally, I think, like, man, it seemed like freaking 15 minutes, but it was probably more like 5. It was a long time. A tippy showed up and a sheriff showed up about the same time. Sac PD never showed up, never came by. After we had him cooked, I had him hook the dude that came up behind me and charged him 148 interfering because I knew he was going to complain on me. If cops don't arrest people when you use force on them, they're going to complain and they're going to go, if he broke the law, why didn't you arrest him? And if you didn't arrest him, he must have not broke the law. Therefore, you used force without arresting him, so you must have been wrong. So that's why cops, I'm telling you, when cops use force on somebody, they're usually going to take you to jail. Because it's kind of like if you argue with a cop on a traffic stop, they know you're going to complain. If I give you a verbal warning and you're an ass and arguing with me and you complain, they're going to go, if you stopped them, why didn't you write them a ticket? Now they got a complaint. Now you got to answer. And now the ball's in their court because they get to go, hey, I didn't do anything wrong or he would have wrote me. He just stopped me to harass me. He just stopped me because of my color. He stopped me because I was a woman. He stopped me because of my weave. Whatever the excuse is, they're going to play that. And the whole defense is going to be like, if they did something wrong, why didn't you write them a ticket? So that's why a lot of times cops are in a position, hey, I got to write you a ticket if I use force or you are argumentative and want to fight with me. So I got 3 hooks out of the deal, which I really didn't want. I kind of wanted something bigger than the 3 bullshit, you know, 148, assault on a cop, all this other bullshit. I had to go back and do all this paperwork. I had to book these guys. I had to search them. Had to go in, write a report. I mean, it was just a pain in the ass, and I didn't really want it. So people were like, cops want to arrest. Look, I've said it before. I have let at least 10 to 20 times more people go that I could have arrested than I ever arrested. And I arrested more people than most every other cop out there. I arrested a lot of people, but I let go at least 20 to 1. Now again, I'm contacting and working areas which is called a target-rich environment. A lot of crime, a lot of shit, a lot of dope, a lot of stolen vehicles, a lot of robberies, a lot of violent assault, a lot of robberies, snatch and grabs, whatever. I'm working those type of people, so I'm going to get more than a street cop who's riding around a nice neighborhood going to a barking dog or doing a house check because they're out of town or somebody's alarm went off and he's responding to the alarm. He's not going to be able to, I was able to move around and I moved from bad area to bad area. I mean, there was no point in me going to a rich area looking for car thieves, dope on the streets. I mean, I'm not saying it doesn't exist. It's just my odds of finding it there versus, I mean, it's like, okay, you can catch a catfish in this pond because we know there's 2 catfish in that pond. But in this pond, there's 100 catfish. Which pond you want to fish at? I mean, it just, people want to make, oh, it's about race, you're picking on the poor. Look, you go to your target-rich environments, especially if that's what you're doing. My job was to get felony arrests, get bad guys off the road. I was after bad guys, partly because of my stats. If I was working gun grants, I wanted to get guns. That's how so a lot of my investigations target around guns. People that work dope want to get dope. A lot of their investigations target around dope. Doesn't mean they don't do anything else. They just want those stats to prove that they're doing their job, to justify their job, so they don't lose their job, so they don't lose the position. So maybe they can authorize a second position. And it's not harassment. I mean, if you're going after bad guys, I don't have a problem. Cops writing tickets, I don't like it. I'm not a ticket guy. I think the best thing cops could do is get out of the ticket writing business and stop writing good citizens tickets. You want to write these piece of shits who are driving around with no insurance, piece of shit cars that they wreck that you know they're going to dump. They got a rap sheet 4 pages long. Their license has been suspended 14 times. They're usually hiding dope, running, throwing something. They're illegal. They got no license. They go, I can't speak English right off the bat. So most cops just go, I don't want to deal with this. I can't speak. I don't want to wait for an interpreter. Just get out of here. So the easy thing for the illegals is say, no English, no English, even though they speak English. And most cops are like, I don't want to deal with this. Get the hell out of here. So that's why I went after this guy. It turned out to be a bucket. It was kind of a shit deal. It just reaffirmed that Sac PD is a piece of shit agency. I wouldn't work there. I wouldn't recommend people working there. I mean, it's just a PC nightmare. And the city's got problems, and crime's up, and nobody cares, and the citizens don't like the cops, and the cops don't like the cops, and the administration, liberals don't like the cops, and cops don't give a shit. Their main goal is to come in, get paid, and go home. And there's a lot of people like, that's the way cops should be. They shouldn't be harassing. Well, then you're an idiot, because you've never been a victim of a crime and need a cop. All right, we'll end that there.